So let's combine the service worker and the database together and work with live data. This is not a super long section. This is just some guidelines for thinking about when you put the two together. So let's say that you have a shop and you have some images and you have prices and descriptions. How would you store the data? Where would you put everything? You have a choice. Some of these things will go in the database, some will go in the cache. The thing I've been saying, and I'll repeat it here, is in general, the cache gets anything that can take a URL address on it. So if it's got a URL, you probably put it in the cache. Now, in some cases, some of the discussions I've had with people is doing rendering on the client side, rendering snippets and such. I would probably put those in the cache too, as long as I had a URL attached to them. Anything else that's not URL-based, it goes ahead into the database. The lifetime of things in the cache tends to be fairly long. The lifetime of things in the database may be short and fairly dynamic. Remember that it all stores on the disk, and remember that it all together counts towards your storage quota. So in a browser that has a 50 meg storage quota, it would be everything. In Chrome, this all counts towards your quota. And remember that if it's on the disk, be very careful about storing sensitive user data. You probably don't want to put it in here unless you've got a secure way of encrypting it. So this is basically just unpacking what we said, right? Store the data locally, JSON in the database, sample of what could go in IndexedDB. Now, as opposed to creating a cache of static assets, where I said create those on install, you're going to create the cache of dynamic assets in the database on activate. This is another case where writing IndexedDB from service worker on install had some problems at one point. So better not to do it there, better to do it here. So on activate, create the database. So to create the database, should be common code that you've seen already. Right? Open it, create the object store, put. Obviously, we've simplified this code to fit on one slide. You'd want to check that the object store doesn't exist yet. You'd probably want to check the version number that you were given to see if you need to upgrade the schema to add additional indices. But sometimes when you're writing a course, you just have to make it fit on the slide. So we took some shortcuts, but that's on activate. Put resources in the cache. On install, cache the assets. You've seen this technique before also. In this case, we're doing and all. And then pull the data from the database and pull the data from the cache. It's really that simple. That's the rule you need to think about, though. So shortest thing ever.